fellow barbarians. It is I, Alan Odinson, and this is the Barbarian Lounge podcast. I want to thank everybody for hanging out with me today. Pretty interesting show lined up for you, as always, but let's go ahead and get a little bit of that housekeeping out of the way. Quick, fast, in a hurry. Our website is thebarbarianlounge.com. Go over there, check it out. We got a lot of stuff up there. One of our hot Christmas items, in our shop, handmade by yours truly, the Thuggy Strangulation Cords here at the Barbarian Lounge. Our goal has always been to make strangulation great again, and there's no better way to do it than picking up one of our Thuggy Strangulation Cords. We have two different designs in there, the Tiger Edition as well as the Kalima Edition. So if you've listened to our episode on Thug Life, which is about the Thuggy cult of India, if you listen to that episode, you'll understand the significance of the design, and if you haven't, go check it out. Check out that episode. I don't remember exactly what number it is, but you should be able to find it in our archives, which have been updated, by the way. I'm staying on top of keeping those archives updated, and we've got everything loaded up that we're going to have loaded up so far on the show. Just a quick heads up, our members site. For our members, all the archives have been uploaded and updated, except for just a few episodes, and I'm currently in the process of getting those now as we speak. Our member site, we got the archives going all the way back to episode 1. We're rolling up very, very quickly on our 100th episode, and I've got a special guest that I've been kind of keeping. A lot of people have been wanting to hear them, and I've been keeping them kind of. I've been kind of holding them off, I guess you can say. I've been holding them off till this 100th episode. So, I want that episode to be big, the same way as we did with our 50th episode when we interviewed Stephen McNallen. I want to have that 100th episode to be pretty big, so it's going to be coming up. We're on the way there. So, if you want to catch up on a lot of our past shows, thebarbarianlounge.com. Check it out. While you're there, I also urge you to check out that donate button. Now, when you click on that donate button, there will be two options which you can use to support the Barbarian Lounge. One of which is a one-time PayPal donation, which is exactly as it sounds. You click the button, one-time PayPal donation, to say thanks. Here you go, Odinson. Appreciate all the hard work. Let me help you keep the lights on. The other option is to become a member on our Patreon site. By you click on that link, the Patreon link, you click on it, it will take you to our Patreon page. When you go there, you will basically make a donation per show. Now, we do a maximum of 8 shows per month. You may be saying to yourself, well, wait a minute, 8 shows, I only hear 4 shows. Well, that's because you're not a member. We do 4 regular shows, which all of our members get those 4 regular shows early. Sometimes a week early, sometimes a few days early. Just kind of depends on when it comes out. So you get those 4 shows there. Plus you also get 4 exclusive broadcasts each month, only available for members. We're up in the 50s right now of those. So we've got a ass ton of episodes uploaded. And a lot of you guys, man, you don't realize it. If you're not a member, you're missing out on like half the content. So needless to say, I like to keep things somewhat instructive and discuss some issues on the members only shows, but a lot of times it also gives me the ability to say some things I don't necessarily want to have over the airwaves. So you also have access now to our complete archives. All right, going all the way back to episode 1. You can see how the show's changed, and it's pretty crazy. When I go back and listen to episode 1, it's wild. When I started the first episode, I was seriously just had a small little headset. Now I got this nice little mic here in front of me, thanks to those Patreon members who help keep this thing running. You guys are the lifeblood of the show, and I urge you, if you want to be part of that lifeblood to help support your local podcasting, I urge you, become a member. Patreon.com/The Barbarian Lounge, or you can just click the donate button, click the Patreon link, it'll take you there, and that's that. So it's a minimum $1 per show. Obviously, you can do 2, you can do 3, you can do 5, whatever you want to do per show, it's up to you. So for the minimum amount of $8 a month, you can support this broadcast. There's not a lot of things right now that for $8 you can actually support and make a difference on. I'm telling you right now, that definitely does make a difference here at the Barbarian Lounge. So let's see, what else we got? Also, you can check us out, ucy.tv. check us out on there Tuesday nights, where there's a live chat going on throughout the show. Tuesday nights, I believe we're still in the 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. slot, so you can check out the show there, listen to it, and go from there. A lot of people listening to the show are talking about the show on the chat room as it's playing out, so you can hang out and talk to people about the content or whatever. Sometimes the chat room doesn't stay on topic, so but that's the fun in the chat room, I guess. Let's see, guys. I think that's about it. So let's get to the meat and potatoes of the content today. The liberal left completely and utterly lost their minds the other day when an article came out alleging that the president, Donald Trump, that the God Emperor himself, I say that in joking, guys, I don't really think he's the God Emperor, that he said, supposedly behind closed doors meetings, that, basically words to the effect of, why in the world are we bringing in all of these people here regarding the immigration issues that are going on right now, and they're arguing over who they want to bring in the doors and everything. Supposedly he says words to the effect of, why in the world are we bringing in all these people from these shithole countries like Haiti and African countries, and why aren't we bringing them from places like Norway? And obviously the liberal left lost their minds. Completely and utterly lost their minds. Now, here's the important thing to understand about this. We have zero clue whether or not this is even remotely true. I mean, you don't think the mainstream media would lie to you, right? Nah, they'd never do that. The mainstream media would never lie to people. They especially would never lie about something Trump said. Not in a million years. The mainstream media groups like CNN, MSNBC, they're always going to go for a straight shooting story. They're not going to mislead you in any way, shape, or form. They are absolutely a trusted news source. If you believe that, I have some oceanfront property right there in Kansas that I would love to sell you. So contact me and I'll get in touch with you. It's pretty ridiculous, man, to see these things come out. But here's the thing, though. Anybody with half a brain, anyone who is not a bleeding heart liberal, I guess you could say, anybody who doesn't fit that category is thinking the same thing that I was thinking when I heard this. I kind of chuckled and said, well, yeah, that's true, right? I mean, it's true. Let's be honest. Let's be perfectly honest here. Here in the lounge, we're not one to want to pull punches back. We need to let these punches go. Anyone who tells you that places like Haiti, places like Somalia, places like Libya, anybody that tells you that places like this are not shitholes are fucking liars. They are lying to you. I mean, and the thing is, and Trump come out today defending it. He's like, hey, I didn't say that. That's wrong. I didn't say that. But trust me, my friend, no one is going to look down on you for saying what is obviously true. That would be like me walking outside and looking up and going, sky's blue. People are like, how dare you say the sky is blue? Right? Well, I'm calling it like it is. I look up, there it is, it's blue. Water is wet. How dare you say water is wet? Well, I can tell it's wet. If I touch the stove, it burns my hand. How dare you? How dare you, Odinson? How dare you say such a cruel and heartless thing? You call it like you see it. You call it the way it is. This is the truth. Most of these people, most of these bleeding heart liberals that are out there right now crying, oh, this is so terrible. How could he? Trump's such a racist, blah, blah, blah. Most of these people, I guarantee you that if you made them the offer and said, look, you're going to be by yourself, we're going to drop you off in Haiti, and you need to walk from this point to that point. It's going to be about 15 miles. We'll just go 15 miles. So obviously you're going to have to spend the night there and all these. So we want you to walk from here to there. All right? When you get to the other side, you're going to have to pass through some quote-unquote city areas. When you get to the other side, let me know what you think. Let me know if you still think it's a beautiful, wonderful place with the best people in the world. Let me know. After you do that, we're going to take you to Somalia. Going to drop you off there. Let me know how it plays out. And people will throw out this thing. So, well, you know, we've been on humanitarian missions and we've done mission trips here and blah, blah. You're also there with security. You're also there with the group of people. And sometimes those mission trips don't go so well, do they? So people have to understand these places, the reason they're called shitholes is because they are shitholes. And it doesn't have anything to do with anything other than the culture that's there. I mean, let's be honest here for a minute. Let's talk a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about Haiti. Let's break it down some. Let's break it down a little bit. So, I will admittedly, here on the air, say that I have not been to Haiti. All right? I will say I've not been to Haiti. I have been to the Caribbean. I have been, I have not been, but I have a very close friend of mine who regularly visits the Dominican Republic. So I've got a little bit of first-hand knowledge there. And the reason I know a little bit more about the Dominican Republic, which is, by the way, connected to Haiti, why I know a little bit more about that is because he has asked me at times to go down there with him to work as security. So my trip to the Caribbean. Now, if you're like me, you think, well, the Caribbean, oh, what a beautiful place. Because we all see the glorious pictures of the beautiful beaches and, oh, it's so beautiful. You know, the sparkling water, the beautiful beaches, the smiling faces, everyone's drinking and having fun. Oh, it's so great. The casinos, oh, it's wonderful. What they don't tell you is that those areas you see, those are at the resorts. Those are at the resorts. If you go to the fucking Bahamas, I'm going to tell you right now, you go to the Bahamas and stop at Nassau. When you pull up there in port, you look to your right and you see the Atlantis Resort. Oh, it's a beautiful beach, smiling faces, beautiful places, just a wonderful, wonderful thing. You look to the left. It's so funny because there's an interesting little allegory here. You look to the right, everything's beautiful. You look to the left, it's a fucking shithole. And that's where you gotta go. That's where everything's located at. If you're not staying at the resort, if you're not willing to pay to stay there, guess what? You gotta go to the beach that everybody else goes to. And I'm gonna tell you right now, you take your life into your own hands when you get off that ship. When we got off the ship, all we could think about was getting back on. Absolute and utter shithole. The entire area in Nassau, it smelled like garbage, and I am not exaggerating the least bit. It smelled like garbage. The city smelled like garbage. The beaches are disgusting. There's people arguing on the streets for trying to sell you trinkets, which that's an obvious thing. There's homeless people everywhere. There's guys standing on the corner spotting, looking for people to rob. A couple of people that got off at port with us did get robbed. So, you know, there's drugs everywhere. You don't want to get in a cabbie. They've got a few military people there to try and control things throughout the city. It is just an absolute hellhole. When we went to the Pirate Museum, I was talking to one of the locals there. And she told me, she said, I'm going to tell you, right here where you're at, this is the last street you should go up. If you go up one more street, and heaven help you if you go up 2, you're probably not coming back to the ship. Straight up. This is what the lady told us. You're probably not coming back to the ship. And I could look down the alleyway and go, yep, she's probably right. She's like, there's guys up there that stand on the corner, they got guns, and they're just looking for people to get lost, and they're going to kidnap you and drag your fucking ass off into the island. And who knows what happens then. We all know what's going to happen then. So this is the reality of places like the Caribbean. You know, Haiti is well, I'm going to tell you this. Where we were at there in Nassau, I'd love to have taken a lot more pictures of some places, but my wife really didn't want to pull her phone out and try and take a picture. because she was afraid it was going to get snatched. She's probably right. And I would hate to have to commit a hate crime in the middle of fucking Nassau, right? So, you know, in some place like Nassau, which is a touristy area, it's going to be about 10 times better than Haiti's going to be. So that right there, when I use that little measuring stick, I go, wow. Wow, wow, wow. I can't even imagine. And I talked to my friend that goes to the Dominican Republic, and he's told me, he said, you know, the biggest threat in the Dominican Republic is Haitians. That's why the security's there. Mostly it's not to protect you from other natives in the Dominican Republic area. Mostly it's to protect you from Haitians. All the expats that stay there, they have their own little gated communities that are the entrance is controlled, and they have armed guards out there all the time. What does that tell you about the area? My friend's got this crazy idea that he's gonna go there to like bug out because he's got a compound he's building there. And I said, bro, right now there's a thin line that's protecting you. You're gonna be like a South African farmer if the shit ever does hit the fan there, which I hear it does quite often. You know, he's never experienced it, thankfully for him. But all the areas that are nice, he'll tell you, the resorts are beautiful. They're great. Those are the places they want tourists. If you venture outside the quote-unquote touristy area, welcome to shithole. Welcome to shithole. So you can take those two factors in and start to get a pretty good idea of exactly what you're working with some place like Haiti. It is an absolute shithole. Let's talk a little bit. I managed to actually write down some statistics here about Haiti. Let's talk about Haiti, because everyone's all offended. How dare he say that? How dare he say that? If he said it at all. Me, if he said it, I'm like, good. We need somebody to call it for what it is. We need somebody to call it for what it is. So let's talk a little bit about some statistics with Haiti. All right? So statistics from Haiti. According to the new report by Amnesty International, and this is from 2015, so these are a little old. There's over 85,000 people in Haiti homeless. Around 22,000 households homeless. Oh, the poor Haitians, right? The poor Haitians. Let's see. I love this one. Why is Haiti the poorest country in the world? It says, reasons behind Haiti's poverty. Haiti is the poorest nation in the Western Hemisphere, but its culture and history are undeniably rich. Oh yeah, it's undeniably rich. It says, under French rule in the 1700s, Haiti was the wealthiest colony in the New World and represented more than a quarter of France's economy. Now let's talk about that briefly, because the same thing's going to apply for areas like in the Caribbean. Such as in Nassau, Freeport, those areas like that. The same with Haiti. Why was it such a wealthy area? Well, it was a wealthy area because it was ruled by the French, which, by the way, is not Haitian culture. Just a little spoiler alert there. That's not Haitian culture. That's European culture. But what ended up happening, the reason these areas were so rich was because of the plantations there. You had beautiful plantation colonies there. And the money was flowing in. So Haiti had plenty of money, the same way as the Caribbean. I remember we walked past and when we were in Nassau, we walked past the quote-unquote Slavery and Emancipation Museum there. And I said, that's hilarious to hear that. Because the reason these areas are poor shitholes now is because they removed the European influence there. How did they remove them? Through their quote-unquote emancipation? No, there was a slave revolt and they killed all of the Europeans that were there. They killed them. Anyone who was mixed, by the way, a lot of mulattoes there, guess what? Killed them. So the only thing that remained was the African culture there, which is now your current Haitians. All right? Talk about a rich history and culture. Yeah, because it was under French rule. As soon as the French were murdered and pushed out of there, guess what Haiti became? Da-da-da-da, shithole. So, I mean, it's the same thing goes with Nassau. Those areas were undeniably rich due to the plantations that were there. It's like, oh, but the people were as slaves, you know. Oh, it was terrible. They were slaves. You know, I've talked about this, and I've had some guests on the show to talk about this as well. And if you put all of your emotional bullshit aside and actually look at facts, look at history, and think about things just for a second. Do you sincerely think, I pose this question to a lot of people, and you see their eyes kind of glaze over. Do you sincerely think that if you want to make money, and you need a tool, which, let's be honest, that's what slaves were used for, were tools. If you want a tool to perform at optimal levels, how well are you going to treat that tool? Let's think about it like a horse, because, you know, oh, how dare you? But, you know, we're calling it like it is. You compare a slave and a horse. A horse is a tool, a slave was used as a tool. All right? If you want that horse to work hard every single day, are you going to starve him? No, you're not. Or he won't be able to work hard. Are you going to not give him water? No, he's going to dehydrate and die. Are you going to give him shitty living conditions? No, because if you don't, he'll get sick and die. All right. See, one of the things a lot of people don't understand is they want to buy this whole northern carpetbagger mentality that was pushed during the 1800s. You know, they want to push this whole idea that the whole slave culture was something of you know, abuse. Right. The whole thing was based on abuse, but the logic and facts behind it don't add up. They don't add up in the least bit, because if you use and abuse, you know, if you separate a family, you say, you know what, if you don't do this, we're going to kill your family, right? You got to work hard. You know, if you use and abuse a man's family, do you really truly think he's going to get out there and work his ass off for you? No fuck he ain't. Another reality that a lot of people don't think about is most of the literacy, most of the teachings and the learning that came to a lot of these people who were brought over on these slave ships. Guess where it came from? It came from the families they were staying with. So I've always proposed the question, and you want to talk about a hard question for people to really consider, right? And I discussed this one of our older episodes. It's actually under our interviews in the archive section with it's called shit. What's the name of it? I think it's called A Southern Nation with the author oh shit, I can't remember his name either. Southern Nation, Our Southern Nation. I can't remember his last name because he uses a different last name online for obvious reasons. But when you we talked about this, you know, was the African culture, the people that were brought here, were the slaves that were brought there, were they better off living as a slave versus being quote unquote free? Because here's the things you have to factor in. As a slave, they were given food. As a slave, they were given a place to live. As a slave, many of them were educated, which enabled them to educate other people amongst their group. So they had a place to live. They had food pretty much taken care of. Did they have to work? Yes, they did. Absolutely 100%. You had to work. All right? Versus when they were quote-unquote emancipated. Now you have to find a job. And you could say, well, they could choose any job they want. Really? Because most of the jobs that were available to these people were jobs that were pretty much doing what they were doing before. The only difference is now they have to pay their own way. Now they have to provide their own place to live. Now they have to provide their own food. If they want education, they're going to have to find somebody to do that for them as well. They're going to have to find a way to support their family rather than having their family taken care of. You know, it's a very, very hard thing for a lot of people to admit. And they immediately get defensive. Oh, that's racist. How dare you? How dare you say that? But think about it for a minute. Think about it. At the time, now obviously we're living in different times now, but at the time, many of them were better off under a slave system of the French. As soon as they were freed, mass death and murder, they've never crawled out of that poverty hole. Never. It's crazy, you know, to think about that, because you've had, you know, since the 1700s, right? Since the 1700s, you guys have had the ability to crawl that hole, and they can't do it. They can't come up with their own commerce. They can't find a way to lift themselves up. Let's talk about some more statistics here. Let's see here. So how poor is Haiti? The richest 1% of Haitians own the same wealth as 45% of the poorest population. There's a new baseline of poverty in Haiti based on consumption. The national poverty rate is 58.6%. The extreme poverty rate, which is you got nothing but maybe the clothes on your back, 24.7%. Okay? Says Haiti remains the poorest country in the Americas and one of the poorest in the world. The GDP per capita is $846 in 2014. I mean, think about that. It's absolutely insane. So, you know, for people to say, you know, you put all these things into perspective, you know, ask yourself, these people from Haiti that they're wanting to bring in here, what skills are they going to bring to the table here? What skills? You know, what benefit do we have to bring them here? How does it benefit the United States? And because at the end of the day, that's the part of the decision-making process of who we want to bring here. Long story short, Haiti's a shithole. It is. You know, people talk about the hurricane and all that they hit there, and oh man, these people managed to crawl out. Let me tell you something. Haiti's one of the one places that can get smashed by a hurricane, and the quality of living there doesn't really change much. African countries, right? Let's just pick one, and the reason I picked this one is because it's one of the places they like to cram different refugees from, and I'm talking about Somalia. So let's talk about statistics from Somalia, because that's one of the things that they love to bring Somalis here. I noticed the other week in my little small town area, I head to the city every now and then, and when I say city, you guys probably wouldn't consider it much of a city. But I was in the city walking around, and I ran into Somalis. And I'm like, holy shit, here in my small southern city, we have Somalis here. That's a surprise to me. You know, you got the husband walking around with the traditional face tats. You've got the wife walking around in a fucking ninja suit. And these people are like, oh, we're Americans. You don't look like most Americans that I see. You don't like most Americans I see. So, let's read some statistics about Somalia. Alright, let me find our thing here. So, 60% of the population in Somalia is younger than 25 years old. 60% younger than 25. And the fertility rate is among the world's highest, at nearly 6 children per woman. So every single woman there has around 6 kids, back to back to back. You know, there's a part of me that says, well, hell, if they come here to the United States, they fit right in some of these places, right? Getting that government check. 6 kids per woman. So I remember, you know, when we were going to the Caribbean, I remember as we were getting ready to get off, and we didn't have this in Freeport, but when we were getting off there in Nassau, we had a nice advisory saying, you know, basically, watch your ass here, which really makes you comfortable when you're getting off the ship, you know. But you have the same thing here when you talk about travel to places like Somalia. This is from smarttraveler.gov. All right, it says, do not travel to Somalia, including Somaliland or Puntland, whatever the hell that is, because of very high threat of terrorist attack. If you are in Somalia, we strongly urge you to leave if it is safe to do so. Somalia is not safe for tourism. Terrorist attacks occur frequently in Somalia. That's not me saying that. That's a travel advisory from the government in the area saying that. So, are we going to cry? Are we going to cry and say, how dare you say that places like Somalia are a shithole? That sounds like a pretty damn good definition of what a shithole is to me. You can't go there to visit. If you go there, there's a high probability there's going to be a terrorist attack. There's a high probability you're going to get kidnapped. There's a high probability you're going to be murdered. There's a high probability there's going to be a ransom out for your ass. I mean, let's be honest here. Does that not fit the category of shithole? Let's see here. Poverty facts in Somalia. According to the most recent data published by the UNDP, Somalia has a 73% poverty rate. Somalia is among the world's poorest nations, according to the national GDP and other poverty indicators. Sounds like the definition of a shithole to me, right? You can't pull people in and expect them to have certain skills that are going to benefit this nation and pull them in from places where these things do not exist. Let's see another one here. Nearly all people in Somalia are Sunni Muslims. For more than 1,400 years, Islam made a great part of Somali society. It says, practicing Islam reinforces distinctions that further set Somalis apart from their immediate neighbors, many of whom are either Christians or adherents to indigenous faiths. Yeah, and that's also why a lot of the warlords in that area there go there and murder them. Right? They drive around in fucking death squads, killing the Christians that are in the area. So I can assure you that Sunni Muslims are not going to fit in here, right? Let's see. Overall unemployment among people aged 15 to 64 is estimated at 54% in Somalia, compared to 47% in 2002. Oh, let's see. When was this? When was this listed? I don't see when this was listed. The unemployment rate for youth age 14 to 29 is 67%, one of the highest rates in the world. So, it's like you've got all these poor-ass places and expecting to bring these people in here and that they're going to somehow fit in. These people are not compatible. They just aren't. Why would we bring people in here who aren't going to fit in with the current values and ideals of this nation? And then throw a big hissy fit when somebody calls it like it is. So, having said all that, let's talk about, if we're going to open the doors for somebody, there needs to be certain parameters, certain protocols for us to decide exactly when do we open the doors and for whom, right? Well, let's talk about those. I just jotted down 4 real quick. First one is, how does this addition benefit us? It's the same. You've heard me talk about preparedness, preparation, prepping, yada, yada, yada. Your tribe, if you want to use that terminology, your nation. How do you decide who you want to bring in? The main thing is, how is bringing these people in going to benefit us? By bringing in Haitians, by bringing in Somalis, how does this benefit the nation? I would even say by keeping the doors open and bringing in people from Libya, bringing in quote-unquote Syrian refugees, opening the doors for poor people out of Mexico, all these people to come up here. How is this benefiting the United States? Oh, well, they're doing jobs Americans won't. Really? Are they? Because we don't know. Because they're doing the jobs that Americans aren't, right? That's the thing. I hear that all the time. Well, they're doing jobs that Americans won't do. Well, we don't know that because those jobs aren't available. Instead, they're getting paid less money to do jobs that Americans could be doing for more money. But you can't bring in people with a lack of skills and expect them to fit in. You always, whenever you open the door, and I've talked about this from a prepping standpoint, from the people that you want in your group. The people that you want in your group are going to have some sort of skills that are going to benefit the group. Why have somebody come in to your group that is a user? Somebody who comes in that doesn't have any skill sets. They don't know how to, let's say you're talking about a shit at the fan situation. Are you going to bring somebody in that doesn't know anything about firearms, can't plant a garden, can barely cook food, can't start a fire, hates the outdoors? I mean, what benefit is this person going to have? No medical training, no nothing. They're just there and they're a tag along with somebody else. No, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. The people who come in have to have some sort of beneficial skills that make them a value to the group. It's the same with a nation. What value are we going to get by bringing in more Haitians who are used to poverty, who aren't going to have the skill set to get out in the American world or in the America or in the United States? They're not going to have the skill set to come here and immediately start working somewhere. So what's going to happen? They're going to have to be given things. We're going to have to pay for everything for them. We're going to have to pay for all their kids that they bring with them. From some Somali lady that brings in her 6 kids, who only thing they know is crime. The only thing they know is living in poverty, and they will stay in that. These people typically do not come here and raise up. Their goal is not to come from a third world country and adapt themselves to a first world country. Instead, they come from a third world country to a first world country and try and turn that into a third world country. So if the people are not going to offer any sort of benefits to the group, why let them in? The second one I wrote down, are they a threat? We go right back to the issue with Somalis. We've had numerous Somali terrorist attacks here in the United States. There's also issues where the doors have been opened overseas in Europe. You cannot bring Sunni Muslims here into the United States and expect them to fit right in. Cramming them into places like Wyoming, cramming them into places like rural South Carolina, and expect them to fit right in with everybody. You know, I always get a thing when I talk about Islamic extremism, Islamic terrorism. You know, I hear people, they'll tell me, they'll say, they throw out the old line, right? Well, you know, not all of them are terrorists. And I'm like, well, yeah, absolutely. They're not all terrorists. It's actually a small percentage. But the ones that are doing the terrorist attacks, they all have the fact that they're Islamic. That is the one thing they have in common. So until Christians and Buddhists and people who follow Asatru, until those people start committing mass crimes and suicide bombings and beheadings and going into malls and shooting up people while they're screaming Aloha Snack Bar, until they start doing that, I'm going to keep looking at the Islamic faith in general as a threat. Until they're not a threat anymore. And I've always contended that's not going to be solved by bombs. That's not going to be solved by anything other than the community itself, the culture itself fixing the problem. And let's be honest, that's not going to happen. Number 3, are they compatible? Well, no, they're not. Their culture's not compatible. As I said, they don't come here to upgrade themselves to first world status. They come here and keep themselves at third world status. And they suck like a big, fat, juicy leech. They suck off the American people who are being taxed like crazy, who have to give up jobs for these people. You know, everybody goes up and down and praises Nikki Haley. Oh, Nikki Haley, she's just been a savage in there. Let me tell you something, guys. I live in South Carolina. I know the type of person Nikki Haley is. Okay? I know for a fact, for friends of mine who work in the city, I know for a fact that Nikki Haley was giving preferential treatment to refugees who were coming here. City jobs went to them first. While other Americans, people who live in this state and lived in this state for a long time, were pushed to the back burner. So don't tell me about how great Nikki Haley is. Okay? You know, these people have proven themselves over and over again to not be compatible. You look at places like in Europe, you have your quote-unquote no-go zones. What does that tell you? The more of these people you bring in, they typically have their MO, their modus operandi, is to come here, start sucking off the government teat, and then they start breeding. That's how it plays out. Countlessly. I think it was last year or the year before. I think it might have been last year. The most popular European name. I'm trying to remember where it was at. I want to say it was in London. The most popular name there of newborn babies was Muhammad. That should tell you something. That should just be a nice big fat canary in the coal mine, falling over dead in its cage. Luckily, we've got the big, beautiful Atlantic separating us to keep us safe. But there's still those people, the communist fucking agents that are in the Democratic Party that are here trying their damnedest to just bring more and more and more in, because all they're thinking is votes. They're not thinking about the future in the least bit. They're not thinking about you, that's for sure. The last one, will they assimilate? You know, and that's the thing. I know of a lady who met a guy in Algeria, and he moved here with her. It took him a long time. He went through the process. He didn't go through this bullshit of, oh, I'm married to you, now I can just come here. No, he actually went through the citizenship process, come here, and he has fully assimilated into the U.S. culture. Does he still do his prayers? Yes, he does. He still practices his faith. However, he will tell you straight up, I am an American now. He doesn't hold on to the old world. He doesn't make his wife wear a beekeeper outfit. Okay? He doesn't go around, you know, condemning Christians. You know, he still puts up a Christmas tree. I mean, his wife is a Christian. I mean, it's the damnedest thing I've ever seen. But he is fully assimilated into the culture of the United States of America. And I have zero issue with that. Anyone that wants to come from one of these countries, if they're able to not be a threat, if they can make themselves compatible here with the U.S., if they offer some sort of benefits here and they can assimilate in the U.S. culture, fuck, come here, man. But the problem is where they're wanting to pull these people from, they don't fit these criteria. They're not coming here for the benefit of the United States. Many of them are a threat, whether it's disease coming from areas where terrorism is high. Many of them do not wish to become compatible here, and most of them are not going to assimilate. They're not going to do it. So there comes a point where you have to call it what it is. You have to call it what it is. You have to say no more. The door is shut. You cannot come in. It's absolutely hilarious to me, because my thing is like, if you're going to bring these people in, right? Why would you take people from a shithole area of the world and cram them into a place that isn't a shithole, right? Why don't you cram them someplace in the United States that is currently a shithole and let them assimilate into the culture there? That's probably going to eat them up and chew them up alive, right? Let's think about it. Shitholes in America, right? Shitholes in America. There's plenty of shitholes in America. Plenty of shitholes in America. Let's talk about one. Chicago. When I mention shitholes of America, I immediately think of Chicago. I'm sorry if we have any listeners in Chicago. I really seriously doubt we do. But, let's talk about September 2016. Chicago had reached 500 people murdered and 3,000 people shot, surpassing totals for all of 2015 in just 9 months. By October 2016, Chicago had surpassed 600 homicides with over 2,800 people shot, marking a 32% increase in murders and non-fatal shootings compared to 2015. And the number just keeps growing and growing and growing and growing. I mean, why not take some of these people and cram them there? Why not do that? Baltimore. Why don't we take them and cram them into Baltimore? How about that? What about talk about some of the other shitholes of America? Detroit, cram them into Detroit. St. Louis, Oakland, Memphis, Atlanta. I don't put them in Atlanta. That's too close here. But you start looking at all these things, and you have to ask yourself, what do all these places have in common? What do they all have in common? And you start finding that it is based on cultural problems, cultures amongst those people. They're there. You can't take these people and forcefully cram incompatible cultures together. You can't take Somalis and put them in Wyoming. You can't take Haitians and cram them into South Carolina. You can't take Haitians and cram them into places like fucking Texas and expect everything to be great. So we're seeing this constant thing playing out, and the left wants to have a fucking cow when the president says, these places are shitholes, as if they aren't. But you see, there's a reason. There's a reason that the left is making such a big deal out of this. One, first off, as I've said before, we have no idea whether it's true or not. No clue at all. Whether it's true or not, who knows? But the fact of the matter is, when I say whether it's true or not, I mean whether the president actually said it. It's definitely true that these places are shitholes. But what it boils down to is that these people are trying to pander. They want an army. I've been saying this since last year. These people want an army. The leftists, the communist left, the cultural Marxists, they want an army. They want foot soldiers in their fight to take over this nation. They've done this countless times throughout countless periods in the history of the world with the same types of people. That, my friends, is a threat. As far as I'm concerned, most of these cultural Marxists and leftists, they don't fit these categories either. They don't offer any benefits to the United States. Most of them are a threat. They've proven themselves to not be compatible with their fucking 80 different pronouns that they want to go by. And they definitely aren't willing to assimilate into what it is to be America. They want to change this nation, not for the better, but for the worse. This is why things like this are important. People get on to me sometimes. I hear them. They're like, dude, why do you want to talk about this stuff? Let's talk about something that's empowering. I am trying to shake you from your slumber and tell you to recognize that there is a threat on the hill. That the enemy is forming the armies together to march against us. Not now, maybe not even during your lifetime, but in the future, I am telling you they are coming. That is the plan. The more people they come in, they're going to try to bring these people in. By getting riled up, I've scared my dog off. She's leaving. But they want to bring these people in. They want to try and win the fight legally with votes. And if that fails, guess what? They're ready to do it by force. You know, right now the wording on the tip of everybody's tongue is Oprah Winfrey, right? We keep hearing Oprah Winfrey's going to run for the presidency, and Oprah's so great. Oprah. I will contend that Oprah Winfrey, as an individual, it's pretty amazing that she's been able to build an empire from nothing. But I will also say that people like Oprah Winfrey, they run arm in arm with people like Harvey Weinstein, whatever the fuck his name is. Arm in arm with them. And if you don't think for 1 second that somebody like Oprah gets into power and is actually running this nation, I tell you right now, brothers and sisters, you better be ready for the fight that's coming. A lot of the right, people that sit on the right side of things, a lot of them started to get kind of lulled to sleep whenever Donald Trump won the presidency. And I said, if you go back and listen to the episodes prior to that, even the one right after Trump won, I said, now is not the time to go to sleep. Now is the time to fight more than ever. Because they are going to pull out all stops. They're going to pull out all stops to win the next one. We've already seen evidence of voter fraud. We've already seen evidence of things going awry in certain small elections. If you don't think that's not going to happen in the future, especially if they run somebody like a fucking Oprah Winfrey in there, which they'll probably put a vice president in that fits the bill of somebody they would want to kind of be the puppet master to pull the strings. If you don't think that doesn't represent a threat in the future, man, you are sadly mistaken. Sadly mistaken. Because things are pointing right now to where the next elections that are coming up, that there's a strong possibility that they're going to push things hard to try and get the Democrats to take over the House and the Senate. If that happens, and somebody like Oprah or some other Democratic lackey gets pushed in the position of presidency, and you have a Democratic-controlled House, Senate, and presidency, my friends, you better be ready for the fight on November 5th. I mean, that's what we're looking at. They will bring in more of these people. The shitholes will grow, because the entire game of these cultural Marxists, at the end of the day, whether they knowingly understand this or not, is to turn all of America into a shithole. That's what they want. They want America to be a shithole with their little controlled Marxist towns and cities. If you look at things like, I don't talk about this a whole lot, but if you look at ideas of things like Agenda 21, people have talked about that for years, right? And the whole idea was this whole farming methodology, and I've always contended that something like Agenda 21, where they have, basically, if you don't know about it, in short, it's small mega cities that basically everybody lives in and everything's controlled, and on the outskirts of that are basically uncontrolled. When people talk to me about FEMA camps and FEMA, martial law and all these things, I see the only way that would ever work would be under something like Agenda 21, where the cultural Marxists, the left, where they create these mega cities that are controlled by their goon squads, if you want to use that terminology. They're foot soldiers that are controlled by a military martial law enforcement organization they're working with, their own modern day Bolsheviks. These areas controlled, they live there, nice and safe. Everything on the outskirts, uncontrolled, and every man for themselves. That's the only way a real martial law would ever work, and that's if you could get the military to go along with it. But this is what they want. This is their utopian future. You read their literature, you look at the videos they've made, and they talk about, the beautiful utopia and things of the future. This is what they want. You see, this is about the long game. It doesn't have jack shit to do with what's happening. They're not going to take us all over tomorrow, right? They're not going to win the fight tomorrow. This is the long game. This is about beating us in small battles now, so in the future, we're too defeated to fight back. And that is why shows like this exist. Shows like this exist to rile up the troops. I want you shaken out of your slumber. I don't want you sitting, as my granddaddy used to say, I don't want you sitting on like a monkey on a petrified monkey on a log. I don't want you sitting like that. I don't want you sitting there scared to move. I want you to wake up. I want you to use your voice. I want you to not be afraid. Right now, there's a lot of people. Most of the people that are in this quote-unquote movement right now, they haven't been in this shit as long as I have. My ability to be the voice here, it dates back generations prior to me. I've had family nearly destroyed by this government for saying the things I'm saying right now. You would think that would entice me to shut up, but motherfuckers, I am here. And I'm louder than ever. And 2018 is going to be the year that we take off on this show. Because my voice, despite what some people may think, they wanted to attack us last year with 2 hack attacks, try to bring this show down. My voice is the voice that needs to be heard. My voice is the one that needs to be screaming out into the wilderness, screaming out into the darkness, crying to build allies to fight back against this upcoming tide. Because it is coming. It is coming. And I want to shake you from your slumber. And I hope my words today, I hope that my words today have done something to at least rile you up, to at least get your feet moving. And no, I'm not telling you to go out there and grab your picket signs and go in the streets and we can protest and we can wake everybody up and we can turn this thing around. That's not what I'm telling you. You've never heard that from this show. What I am telling you is it is coming, and I want you to be prepared. I want you to be ready. Build allies where you can. Understand threats where they exist. And be ready, because the storm is coming. The storm is coming. Alright, guys. I'm getting riled up. So I'm gonna go ahead and end this broadcast here. So my fellow barbarians, if you want to support this broadcast, check us out, thebarbarianlounge.com. Click on the donate button, throw a one-time donation, click on the Patreon link, become a member. $1 per episode. It comes up to $8 a month. Support this broadcast. Get a little skin in the game. Support the fight. Support the fight that is coming. We need your help to keep shows like this on the air so I can keep doing this. Alright, guys. That's it. I'm going to wrap it up now. So now, my fellow barbarians, this broadcast of the Barbarian Lounge is closed.